What's going down, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holmes Hobbies Motor Control. It's your boy Josh, aka Coleman, and we're back in the studio kind of hanging out. We're going to talk about the Holmes Hobbies BRXL ESC again today. We're going to go a little more in depth on that, and we're going to go ahead and answer a few questions from the last episode of Motor Control, and we're also going to talk about the Holmes Hobbies quiet mode, what that means, what that does, and kind of discuss should you or should you not use it, and if you do, what to keep in mind. Alright, you guys, so we're back at it once again. Holmes Hobbies Motor Control is the series where we go over products from Holmes Hobbies every week and kind of just discuss a couple of things about them. Maybe drive a little bit, and show the performance. We might go in depth, we might just touch some surface things. It always changes, you never really know. But today what we're going to talk about is this guy right here. This is the TorqueMaster ESC, also known as the BRXL. We touched on this briefly in the last episode, and in this episode we're going to go a little more in depth. We're going to talk about quiet mode. Quiet mode is something that actually John Holmes himself asked me to touch on. It is a really cool feature on this ESC, something that I have yet to use until today. And now that I've used it, I'm kind of wondering why I haven't been using it, honestly. Quiet mode, what that does is that, you guys, if you do any rock crawling or slow driving with your RC cars, you're going to hear that whining noise when you barely get on the throttle. First initiate the throttle, you're gonna hear the motor whining, a high-pitched frequency that I can't even recreate it. So until you give it some more juice and it kind of opens up, right? Well, with Holmes Hobbies ESCs, they have what's called quiet mode, or actually on the BLE it goes by something else, and we'll talk about that later on. But on the BRXL it's called quiet mode. It's under the basics tab, I believe, and it's on the top right hand side. Click on quiet mode and you can enable and disable it. When you enable it, it actually makes that high pitched frequency sound go away, which is it's genius. I don't know why we haven't been doing that in all of our trucks and all of our ESCs. Honestly, I don't even know if it should be an option. I think it should just be mandatory. Now, there are some downfalls to this. Some of the downfalls are you're going to run higher temperatures, so you're really going to want to keep an eye on that. There is max temperature settings that I'll go ahead and put in the description if you guys want to look at that. But there's temperature settings that you're going to want to keep an eye on. Make sure you don't go over. Not temperature settings, but temperature readings, I should say. So anyways, you guys, that is quiet mode, and it's pretty cool. And we'll go ahead and I'm going to use this truck today. You guys have seen this already. I call it the Roach. This is my little Tamiya CC01 build. Now, this has a BRXL in it, and we're going to use this as an example today. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in right now and show you guys that whining noise that I'm talking about. So, first things first, we're running off just a Fly Sky radio here from Asia Tees. We're going to click that on. Alright, now that that's on, I have the battery access is right here. We're just going to go ahead and plug those in so that the truck is on. Now you guys heard that arm up. There's actually dual arming going on in there. You could hear two chimes going off at the same time, and that's because there's two ESCs in here. There's a BRXL that runs the entire truck, and there's also the BR Mini, which we'll go over in another episode. Now, this is armed. Alright, here. You can see I got some steering going on here, right? And then hear that? I'm just barely getting on the throttle here. You guys hear that whining noise? Right before the wheels move. You have the option to actually turn that off using the BRXL or the BLE. So let's go ahead and show you guys how I do that. First things first is we're going to prep this truck to get plugged in. One thing that I like to do is make my trucks kind of easily accessible, so when I need to get to the wires, it's not that hard. Something I highly recommend. In order to get to this one, I pop the front off, and then the back is held on by the original body post. Now I'll go ahead and I'll let the winch out because the winch kind of helps hold it in. Alright, so I let the winch out just a little bit to loosen it up. I'll go ahead, pop the front end loose there, and boom. Now we have access. If I need more access, I just let my winch out even more. Just like that. So now you guys can see here is the inside of my Tamiya CC01. Very clean and well put together. And right here, let's see if I can get some light on this here. Set the body aside. Right here is my receiver. Now on that receiver, I will unplug this wire right here, which goes to my ESC. When I unplug that, I'll also have to unplug the battery. Then I'll plug this directly into my Castle Link, which will allow me to tune it. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now we're out here at my desk, and I apologize, it's probably super bright. This is where I hang out, and I like to do my editing and my gaming and my research and stuff like that. And so basically, I have the Castle Link program pulled up now. I went ahead and I put that on full screen. So if you guys are wondering why it looks funny, it's on full screen. Here is my CC01 just sitting out here on the desk, right? I guess I can move these pliers out of the way. Now, it is still plugged in, it is still turned on, right? It's still turn, and if I give it a little throttle here, you'll hear that whine. There it goes. You guys hear that? Alright, so there's that whine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and unplug the battery, which is right here. See if I can do it one-handed. There we go. Now we've unplugged the battery. We're going to unplug the ESC from the receiver and make sure that wire is accessible. It's right here. Right? So now I have my Castle Link plug here, right? My little adapter. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug that in. You're going to want to make sure your negative is to the negative, positive to the positive. See if I can do this one-handed. A little awkward. There we go. You see that immediately changed over to Holmes Hobbies. This right here, armed. You heard the ESC arm. And no, you cannot drive it. There's not power to it. But, well, not power to the motor anyways. But the ESC has power. And now you can go ahead and go in here. We'll go over here and we'll hit basic. Boom, right there, and go to quiet mode. Click that, click enabled, right? Now you're going to want to go down to the bottom corner and you're going to want to click update. Boom. That will update it. It says update of setting complete. Then I will click OK. Alright, now we're going to go ahead, plug this back in. Well, first things first, let's unplug the Castle Link. Alright. Plug the ESC back into the receiver. See if I can do all this one-handed. A little awkward, and I apologize about the poor lighting, you guys. Alright, so now it is plugged back in there. And go over here. We're going to grab the battery. We're going to plug the battery back in. See if I can do that one-handed. That's going to be the hardest one so far. Alright. There we go. Now she's all powered back up, right? Remove that. We have steering again. And we're going to go ahead and baby our throttle. And you will hear no whining. Just movement. Absolutely awesome feature. Truly an awesome feature. That is quiet mode on the BRXL. Now let's go ahead and answer a couple of questions. So there you guys have it. You can see the difference between quiet mode enabled and disabled on the BRXL from Holmes Hobbies. In my opinion, I think it's one of the best features out there. I had no clue. I had just kind of skipped over it before, not really thinking much of it because I've never really been worried about how loud my truck is. But once that noise is gone, you really do start to kind of see like how nice it is not having it there. So anyways, let's get on real quick and finish this up. We're going to go ahead and answer a couple of questions. I got my phone here, and I want to see what kind of questions we got here in the comment section. Now, this is something a little out of the ordinary. Normally I answer most of the questions directly through the comments. I don't usually do videos about them, so let's just see what we got going on here. There we go. RC Expeditions BW asks, is this one of your most recommended ESCs? Also, once again, great video. They help a lot. Well, thank you, RC Expeditions BW. I would say that as far as brushed ESCs go, that yes, absolutely, this is my most recommended ESC of all time. You guys know my history. The guys that have at least been with me for a while, you know, I've ran through a lot of different companies trying to find ESCs and motors that I'm really fond of and that really work with me. I'm pretty critical about that stuff, and I don't hold back. I abuse them. I put lots of weight on them, put heavy loads through them, and I try to find the weaknesses. And I'll be 100% honest with you, the BRXL is an amazing ESC. It is specifically tuned for what we do as scale guys, crawler guys, trail running guys, U4 guys, just off-road motorsports guys. That's what it's built for. And with the huge array of motors that are available, especially from Holmes Hobbies alone, yeah, man, there's a motor and a motor to combine with that ESC for just about every application out there. So yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it is by far one of my most recommended ESCs. So thank you for commenting. I appreciate that. Let's do another one here. Now, Bo Long has a question here, and I'm not 100% sure I'm reading it correctly. It says, on the brushed motors, what advantages and disadvantages of advancing the timing, and what out of turns would you recommend? I'm assuming he's saying what are the advantages and disadvantages of changing the timing, and what amount of turn would I recommend for motors. That boils down to you. The turns, you know, my favorite turn is usually somewhere between the 21 and 35 range. It just depends on the gearing of the truck though, and the gearing of the truck depends on the weight of the truck. So there's a lot that kind of goes into my selection for turn, and I run a different turn in almost every truck. Or KV, depending on if it's brushless or brushed. So yeah, that's kind of hard for me to answer specifically, but I would say usually between 21 and 35 will cover the majority of things that I need to do. And the advantages of advancing the timing. Honestly, you can get a little more performance, but usually at the risk of heat. And I'll be 100% honest with you, I don't mess with the timing too much on my vehicles. I usually can get the majority of it out through tuning on the ESC with throttle curves and things like that. And yeah, if I was racing, you know, like racing competitively, then I'd probably get a little bit more into playing with my timing and stuff to get the most out of it. But I will say I've burnt up some motors though from overdoing it with the timing, so be careful with that. And let's answer one more. The J.D. Arnold, he says, what gearing do you use in the blue Jeep? I like the way that seems to cruise. Thanks for the videos. Keep up the good work. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And thanks for the comment. I would say in that blue Jeep, even though that doesn't really have much to do with this Holmes Hobbies ESC episode, I will still answer that, and I would say that the blue Jeep uses my ESP anti-spur setup. I have a video about that called the Blue Dream JK, I believe, or something like that. And if you go back through my videos, you can see that there. And I go over it in pretty good detail. You can see what I do. I do what's called, what I refer to as the ESP anti-spur setup, which is really, it's like a divorced setup, right? So I use a HPI gear reduction unit, and I run that to an axial transmission and then out to the axles. And usually the axles will be geared down. I'll usually run stock gearing in the tranny. I don't think you can change gearing in the tranny anyways. And on the tranny I remove the spur gear and all of that stuff, and yeah, do some modifying so that I can run a drive shaft up to a gear reduction unit, HPI, which is, I believe, a 7.4 to 1 gear reduction unit. I think that's the ratio. But you'd be better served to watch that video I posted because I go over it in pretty good detail. And you guys, that is about it. One last thing I do want to clarify is I've seen on a couple of comments people say that Holmes Hobbies ESCs are just rebranded Castle Creations ESCs. That is not true. I will do another episode where we actually go over all of that in detail, and I can kind of clarify the differences between Castle Creations ESCs and Holmes Hobbies ESCs. I will touch on that for everybody, and we will go ahead and clarify all that so we can lay it to rest that Holmes Hobbies are not just rebranded Castles. There's a lot more that goes into it than that. So that being said, you guys, I think that's about it for today's episode. I hope that helps everyone out. I apologize for the late release. It was a busy day today. And yeah, you know the routine. Peace and chicken grease. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share it with friends out there that love this RC industry, and help Extreme Scale Performance reach the masses. We're trying to do big things over here. So again, you guys, thank you for watching. See you on the next episode.